Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Tony Zhang. I'm the Chief Strategist here at OptionsPlay, and we have a very special event here for you today, focusing on helping you understand how to grow your trading account from an options trading perspective and the different tools that we have recently launched here with StockCharts and OptionsPlay to help you achieve some of those goals. We have a partnership that is now, more than 6, 7 months old with StockCharts. We now have, a few thousand traders that have been using these tools, and they've given us a lot of feedback over that time. And we've incorporated some of that feedback into the latest version that is now available to everyone. So today, what I want to do is I want to walk you through some of those new features as well as show you how you can utilize this tool to help you grow your trading account consistently and confidently in your portfolio. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we do, what we are going to discuss here today is purely for education and demonstration purposes. It is not a solicitation or recommendation to buy or sell any of the specific securities that we'll be using as example purposes during today's session. Now, I see many of you have already chimed into the chat window saying hello and telling us where you're from. We have a very vibrant community of traders here at StockCharts.com and OptionsPlay. So if you're joining us for the first time, please feel free to chime into the chat window, say hello, tell us who you are, where you're from. As you'll see from the audience, we have traders from all over the world joining us, learning how to improve their skill set to help grow their trading accounts. And we really are here to help support that. So really excited to show you some of the best of both worlds that we've been able to incorporate from StockCharts.com's fantastic technical analysis screening tools and OptionsPlay's option screening tools, and how when you merge the two, you get the best of both worlds and you effectively get what is a professional equity research team at your fingertips in real time in under 2 seconds, and just how powerful that is, and making sure that you leave no stone unturned in finding the best yielding possible opportunities in the broader markets. So really, really excited to show you some of that. So my goal during today's session is to clearly show you best of what OptionsPlay and StockCharts.com has built and how it can help you grow your trading account. We're going to cover two things. We're going to cover the Strategy Center and the Strategy Explorer. The Strategy Center is at the core of the tools that we offer that provide you with a real-time scanner for personalized option strategies. And that's integrated into both the OptionsPlay trade ideas as well as your chart list. And I'm going to show you that second part, why integrating it with your chart list makes it one of the most powerful tools that you can find in the market for options traders. And then we'll also look at the Strategy Explorer to show you how you can find instantly optimized option strategies with analysis and education alongside with the charting that you are probably very used to at this point, using either on ACP or in SharpCharts on StockCharts.com. So a lot to go over here today, so let's go ahead and get started. But at the core of what I want to show you here today is the OptionsPlay Strategy Center. And the goal of the Strategy Center is to simply help you find the best performing options trades every single time you go to place a trade. And that means that no matter how many securities that you are considering, that we are always going to surface the best performing strategy so that you know that you've done your research, you've done your homework, and you're trading with a lot more confidence and full confidence that you are trading the strategy with the best possible outcome for your given outlook for the broader markets. And that's our goal, because before these tools, you had to do the work manually. And there's just no way that you can possibly manually look through dozens of options chains to know for a fact that you're trading the best possible performing strategy. Not to mention the amount of time that it would take you to go through that. By the time you go through all 20, 30, 40 different stocks, the quotes on the first one that you would have looked at would be stale. So even if you found, that the third trade that you found was the best trade, by the time you go back to it, those quotes may not exist anymore. So what we wanted to do is provide a real-time screening engine that made sure that you knew that you were trading the best performing options trade every single time, and you knew that you had full confidence that you were making the best decision from a trading perspective. So that is at the core of the Strategy Center. And what the Strategy Center does is it really provides real-time personalized option strategies on any list of securities. Now, before this week, you were only able to run our real-time personalized strategies on the trade ideas that we presented to you. But we've recently expanded this to all chart lists, and that opens up the whole world to you with regards to what the OptionsPlay Strategy Center can do. And that's what I want to take some time today, is to show you the power of the Strategy Center and what you can do with it. But at the core of it, what we're trying to do is rank every single scan that you can run in StockCharts, whether it's a scan that we have pre-built for you or one that you've custom built for yourself, and show you personalized option strategies on every single security that you've screened for, so that if you have 50 stocks that you're potentially trading, that you know that you're trading options on the best one of those 50 stocks. These are pre-built technical analysis scans that we've built for you that use trend following, counter trend, and performance-based scans. And we also have supported 9 custom option strategies with fully customizable parameters for each of your individual needs. So let's go through the Strategy Center first. Make sure you understand the power of it before we show you how you can really kick into high gear by integrating it into your chart list. So you can find the Strategy Center by either on the StockCharts.com homepage. You can find it clearly marked in the at the very top of your dashboard. You'll see this green button here at the very top that's called the OptionsPlay Strategy Center. You can either click on that, or you can go under Charts and Tools, and you can find it under Options Tools, the OptionsPlay Strategy Center. This is how you get to this tool. And if you currently don't have a subscription to the OptionsPlay add-on, I will show you how to do it. And more importantly, I'll show you how this tool can help you pay for your first, if not first 2 or 3 months worth of this particular subscription service. So under the OptionsPlay Strategy Center, what you're going to find is a list of trade scans first. And what we have are 6 trade scans that are pre-built for you. These are our trade ideas that we have built with StockCharts.com using their scanning engine to find you technical setups that you would want to potentially trade options on. So these are trend following stocks. We have bullish and bearish trend following stocks. Those are pretty self-explanatory, and I'll go through a couple of examples to show you what those look like. We have counter trend stocks, we have bullish and bearish counter trend, and then we have bullish and bearish outperform and underperform. What we're looking for there are stocks that are outperforming the S&P 500 or versus underperforming the S&P 500. So regardless of how you'd prefer to choose your trading setups, right? Do you look for breakouts and breakdowns? Do you prefer following the trend? Do you prefer going against the trend? We are designed to help you find trade ideas that match your personalized preferences from a screening perspective. But more importantly, let's say we are currently looking at bullish counter trend, for example, meaning you felt that the markets have sold off heavily over the last month or so, and you think that there's an opportunity to buy some stocks that have been sold off pretty heavily. So let's look at some bullish counter trend trades. And what this provides you is a list of bullish counter trend trades. But right now there's only 4 stocks in here. So theoretically, if let's say you only had 4 ideas, you could probably go through 4 different stocks, you pulling up the options chain and looking at that manually, right? So for example, if let's say this scan served up four, let's call it 3 ideas: Fiserv, United Health, and Bristol Myers. Could you pull up an options chain, select a strategy, pick a strike price, pick an expiration date, and get a sense for, what the pricing looks like and what the risk to reward ratio looks like? Yes, you can do it. And for someone like myself, who, has been trading options for 18 years, I could probably do that in about five minutes or so and look through 3 symbols and know out of those 3 symbols which one perhaps is more favorable to trade from an options trading perspective. But most traders have not traded options for 18 years and do this for a living and can say that they can do that confidently in under 5 minutes, most people may not even necessarily know what the right strategy to trade or what the expiration date or what the right strike price to choose. So that's really why we built the strategy center, so that no matter what list of securities that you have, we will help you determine what might be the best strategy for you. So for example, if we look at bullish counter trend, this allows you to select a strategy, an expiration date, and a strike selection. Now, this is already pre-populated for you if you don't have a personalized preference. If you say, I'm new to options, I'm not exactly sure where to start, we have already pre-populated a starting point for you. So let's look at a 30-day balanced long call option, which is a simple option strategy to take a bullish view on a particular stock. And you can also customize it to how much you are willing to risk. So let's say you have a $50,000 portfolio and you only want to risk 2% of that total portfolio value, which is a very reasonable amount to be risking. So let's say you only can risk $1,000. You click on update, everything is updated. Now you only have two choices. And what we're saying is that Fiserv is the better choice from an options perspective because you are choosing an option that's cheaper to purchase, and it requires the stock to make the stock only has to move about 3% before you have to break even, versus the Bristol-Myers one, you have to wait about, the stock has to move nearly 4% before the option strategy breaks even. So what it does is it ranks all of the different opportunities that you have based on the option strategy that you've selected, and tells you which one is best. And what that means is that you've done your research, you've looked at all the possibilities, and what you are basically saying is that I know for a fact that I'm trading the best possible opportunity on the list of securities that I'm looking for. So if I like to be counter trend and I like to look for stocks that are kind of beat up, that might be that might have a bounce opportunity. Let's look at Fiserv here. This is a stock that has really been beaten up, and maybe you think that this is a good opportunity for that to bounce. Well, this not only identifies those bounce opportunities for you, but make sure that you are setting up the best option strategy alongside with that. So then let's look at Bristol-Myers here for 1 second. You'll see that the chart looks very similar to that. This is a stock that has recently been beaten up. It's oversold on both daily and weekly timeframes, and maybe it's due for a bit of a bounce here, and you're trying to take advantage of that with a simple call option. Now, what we're saying is that the Bristol-Myers option just costs more. It's going to require the stock to make a bigger move before you're profitable. So if you have two different choices that you're sort of equally excited about, well, one choice is better from an options trading perspective, and you know that you've done your homework. And what I've given you right now is a very simple example, right? There's really only 2 or 3 choices. You could potentially do this manually, but you can quickly see, let's look at a bullish trend following scan, right? So the trend following scan is also, I think, something that most people might be familiar with, and you can make full customizations to the strategy, the time frame, the risk profile. I'm not even touching that here for 1 second. Let's just say we're leaving things alone. You're relatively new to options trading. You don't know exactly what choices to make. So you're looking at stocks that are trend following. Let's look at some of these stocks just so you can see what the chart setup looks like. Let's look like Barrick Gold, right? So you have a stock that's clearly in an uptrend, but what you have here are pullbacks in that uptrend. Pullbacks in that uptrend are the best opportunities to start entering a bullish position. And that's exactly what we got here, is a pullback here, and we're looking for that potential continuation of that bullish trend, right? That's what we're looking for in this trend following a scan category. So this is the stock that has just started to start trading a little bit higher here, pulled back. Maybe not the best trading setup from a technical perspective, but what we're looking for are stocks that are starting to trend higher, making higher highs and higher lows that have pulled back here. And you can look through these very quickly, and I'll even show you how you can create a chart, how we have automatically created a chart list for you, because when you're subscribed to the OptionsPlay add-on, what you have here are these specific chart lists that you can actually subscribe to, or chart lists that are automatically built for you that actually have all of the screens or all of the stocks that are in a particular screen, so you can view it as a chart list. So and basically basically you can click on any of these and see what the chart looks like very quickly, validate that you agree with it as a trend following tool, as a trend following stock, and be able to quickly trade it, right? But more importantly, if all of these stocks fall under the trend following category, but which one's the best options to trade, right? If they're all kind of meet your criteria from a screening perspective, well, which ones have the best options to trade? Well, that's really where Barrick Gold comes into play. Buying the 18.5 strike when it's trading at 18.88 for $1 is one of the cheapest options that you can potentially purchase. Colgate-Palmolive, as you can see, what we're doing is we're ranking it based on the OptionsPlay score. The OptionsPlay score is the expected value of that option contract at expiration, based on the risk to reward and the probability of profit of each one of those strategies. So this is really what we're trying to look for here, right? So what we're trying to get a sense for is how much are you willing to risk, how much can you potentially make, and what is the probability of that happening? And what we're creating is a score to give you a sense for what is the actual chances of you being profitable on the trade, and scoring it for you so that you know that when you're trading, all of these stocks, because if you're just looking at these stocks on a screener, they're all kind of equal, right? Like you might have a preference from a charting perspective, but largely they have all met your technical needs in terms of a trade idea. But how do you know which ones to trade options on? And that's what the OptionsPlay Strategy Center does. And you can customize it to the strategy itself as well. So for example, if let's say you want to buy a bull call spread, and let's say you want to be more aggressive on that bull call spread, well, you can click on update, and it's going to now it's going to evaluate all of the securities that you looked at, find the best bull call spread to purchase, meaning how much does it cost in terms of the premium, and be able to find you the best bull call spread to buy. Or vice versa, if you like to sell credit spreads, you can look at which credit spreads collect the most premium, right? So you can get a sense for which ones are going to collect the most premium on any type of strategy, and you can fully customize these strategies. So for example, if you like to sell a bull put spread that expires in 14 days and you like to be more conservative, maybe you're willing to risk more, you click on update. In under 2 seconds, you're going to get a ranking based on which one of those 14-day conservative bull call spreads or bull put spreads that risk no more than $5,000, which ones are going to be the best ranking opportunities. And this way, you know that you're leaving no stone unturned, and you effectively have researched every single security based on your personalized preferences for options trading, and know that you're trading the one with the best possible risk reward ratio. And this is fully customizable to any strategy that you prefer to trade. So let's say you like to sell puts, or like to buy long calls, you'd like to trade iron condors. No matter what strategy you prefer, no matter what time frame you prefer, no matter whether you are a conservative, balanced, or aggressive risk taker when it comes to selecting your strike prices, and no matter how much dollar amount you are willing to risk, we can update, in real time, the best opportunities in under 2 seconds for your list of securities. This is designed to make sure that you are always finding the best possible opportunities in the market to help you grow your trading account. What I want to do now is show you, what I've shown you so far are our pre-built scans, right? So you get those straight out of the box when you subscribe to the OptionsPlay add-on. But what I want to show you now is really kind of the powerful tools that you have available at StockCharts.com, and how you can use that in conjunction with the Strategy Center to take this to the next level. And there's a couple of things that I want to show you. So the first thing that I want to show you is really how you can build your own scan, right? And many of you have already used this tool. Maybe you already have scans that you're running today on StockCharts.com. I want to show you how you can take those scans and run the Strategy Center through it, because that's really kind of where things get really interesting, right? Because we all have our own preferences for how we do things, right? How we look for opportunities. So what I think is amazing with StockCharts is the advanced scan workbench. But before we even look at that, let's just look at the sample scans that they have built here at StockCharts. And there's lots of different ones that you can use as inspiration to start with, right? They have lots of, ones from technical indicators, I think the technical indicators ones are interesting. The relative highs are really interesting. I have built a lot of these scans off of these types of outperforming the S&P 500 type scans, and you can basically edit them and customize them to your own needs. Or you can look at some of the pre-built ones, like some of the ones that I really like here are the moving averages in correct order is an interesting one. The moved above upper Bollinger Band, the new CCI buy signals. These are all really interesting kind of pre-built scans that you can use as a starting point if you don't currently have any scans built in StockCharts.com. But if you have built your own scans, you can find them under your scan workbench, right? And I have built all these scans myself. And so, for example, let's just look at one of the scans that I had built, which was I was looking at the 2-month outperform and undervalued. It doesn't really matter what the scan is, right? The whole point is that these are custom scans that I built, and many of you have built your own custom scans. One of the things that I like to do is you can run a scan, right, like this. And as you can see, when I run the scan, I've got 5 different ideas. So let's find a scan that actually throws out more ideas. Let's find something like maybe bullish MACD crossover. I bet that probably has a lot more. No, that only has 1. Let's find something with a lot more ideas that it spits out. Let's look at this. That's only got 10. I want to find something with even more. Here, let's do this. Let's go back to the predefined scans, and let's look at bullish. Which ones do I like? Let's look at the one that's moved above upper Bollinger Bands. Let's look at that. Or a CCI buy signal. Let's look at that. All right, so this one has 117 securities that match this particular scan, right? I'm looking for stocks that where the CCI buy signal has generated, the CCI indicators generated a buy signal. It has 117 ideas in it. And imagine that you rate a scan. There's 117 stocks. There's no way that you can possibly look through 117 charts, and there's no way you can look through 117 option chains to know that you're trading one that has the best possible chance of being profitable at the end of the day, which is why we built this screening engine, so that you can go through all 117 in an automated fashion and know that you are trading the best possible opportunity. So for example, what you can do here is you can do 2 things. You can either save this as a chart list, right? And let's say I'm going to use this chart list that I've created here, CCI buy signal. I can save this to a list and basically use the strategy center. Let me go back to my strategy center. And I can find that new chart list that I just created with the 117 securities, right? The CCI buy signal from today. And what I can do is I can basically have it run through all 117 different stocks and look for let's say I like to go for the bull call spread. I'll keep the settings, the default settings for now, just for everyone here who's maybe relatively new to options trading and may not know what the right settings are. Know that we have basically done the work for you to find that. So here's the thing, is that we do, as you can see before, there were 117 stocks in this particular list, but a lot of the stocks in this particular list may not have options on them, and they may not be particularly liquid from an options trading perspective. So one of the things that we do is that we basically have already reduced the number of securities that you have to look at from 117 down to just 21, because those are the ones that you can actually trade options on and they're liquid. Right? Because there's no point in looking through options chains that are just not liquid at all, right? A lot of times what you end up doing with, we waste a lot of time, I certainly have wasted a lot of time in my career, looking at trading setups where I'll look at a particular chart and say, okay, this chart looks great. It's got everything I'm looking for outperform. Looks like it's just about to break out here from this $8 breakout, and I think this could really run to the upside. I've done all my research on the technicals, I've done my research on the fundamentals, and then I go pull up the options chain, and I realize that this particular stock, maybe doesn't have weekly options, or it's not very liquid. There's no open interest in volume, and I'm basically, the spreads are this wide, and I basically can't trade it. I cannot tell you how many countless hours I have wasted researching underlying securities only to find that when I go to the options chain, I can't trade options on it, right? So what we do here is when you save a chart list, what we'll do is we'll basically cut out anything that's not optionable, and we'll also cut out all optionable securities that we deem as not liquid, meaning anything that we would not recommend you to trade options on, we remove from that. So right off the bat, what we've done is we've gone from 117 stocks down to just 21 stocks. These are ones that you can trade options on. These are ones that are very liquid from an options trading perspective. So right off the bat, we've done a lot of the work in removing that potential opportunity for you. And out of the 21, we were able to find strategies, using a bull call spread for about 15 of them. And what we do is we rank it for you, right? So as you can see, Teva Pharmaceuticals has a 60-day balanced bull call spread. We're using the same 60-day balanced approach for all of them. So we have a consistent approach of finding the bull call spread across all 21 securities. And what we're saying is that let's compare all of those securities, all of those 60-day balanced bull call spreads, and find which ones are cheapest to purchase. And as you can see, Teva Pharmaceuticals, that bull call spread only costs 31% of the vertical width. THC requires 32% of the width, 33% of the width, and you go down the list, the further down the list you go, the more expensive those bull call spreads cost. So if you're buying something, you obviously want to buy something that costs a small amount of the vertical spread so that your potential reward is much larger. The smaller you pay, the more you can potentially make on a bull call spread. So what we're doing is we're ranking it for you so you know, okay, if I'm interested in this particular scan of stocks that have generated a CCI buy signal, well, all of these stocks generated the CCI buy signals. They're all equal from that perspective, but they're not equal at all when it comes to trading options. For a fact that, these top three are going to be the ones where the options are the cheapest. And that's where you're going to have the best possibility of making the biggest return on your capital. And that's what we're designed to do, is to help you identify where you can find the best return on your capital every single time you place a trade, no matter how you generate your trade ideas, whether you run your own scans, whether you want to use one of our pre-built scans, or you want to use one of the pre-built scans that StockCharts.com has already built for you. Regardless of how you choose to find your opportunities, we have the way to make sure that you are trading the best possible option strategy on that list of securities every single time without fail. So if you want to grow your trading account, you have to know that you're trading the best possible opportunities every single time, because every single day you come to StockCharts.com, you're going to get new scans, right? The scans that you run are going to spit out new symbols every single day. And sometimes that list of symbols can be pretty massive. And it's really difficult to look through that entire list of securities and know that you are trading the best one from an options trading perspective, because there's just no way that you can manually look through that many symbols on an options chain. Even someone well-versed in doing that stuff myself can maybe only go through a handful of stocks in a 10-minute period. So if I have 30 different stocks, I know I'm not going to get to them all. I'm just going to eyeball the ones that I'm most familiar with, the ones that I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to structure an options trade on it. And those are the ones that I would look at if I were to do it manually. This way, now I know I'm leaving no stone unturned, and I'm looking at the best possible opportunities every single time, regardless of what my preferred strategy is, no matter what my preferred expiration date is, no matter what my preferred strike selection is, and no matter how much I have to risk, I know that I'm going to stay in my lane every single time. Okay, so there's a question here about how are prices adjusted during the day. These are all based on real-time prices. So you're basically always, every single time you click on update, we are pulling the real-time chains for all of the securities in your list and returning to you the list of securities that you are looking at it. So, when I click on update, we're pulling the options chain for all of these 15 securities, and we are finding which one have the cheapest call options for you to purchase, right? So for example, American Waterworks, if you bought this 145 strike call option, it only requires the stock to make about a 3% move before this strategy is profitable. Versus you look at something like this down here, you look at something like MP Materials, you buy the $24 call option, it requires the stock to make a 9% move just before you break even. So, a lot of times when you're just looking at an options chain, you can't really tell that this trade over here is actually far less. It's going to have a much smaller chance of being profitable than the one up here, right? It's very difficult to tell. But when you have it ranked and sorted like this, it makes it incredibly obvious and where you should be focusing your attention on doing a little bit more research. And now you'll be able to trade strategies. You're trading the best possible strategies every single time. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to show you, which is how I use this tool, and I think this is the way that everyone should use this tool, is that once you've created your own custom scan, right? So for example, I have all these different custom scans that I have built, is that you can schedule these scans to automatically save to a chart list. So I have all of these different scans that I have built where basically every single morning, either at the open or at the close, it will basically take the results of that scan and dump it into a chart list that I have already built or already have saved, so that every single time that I'm using the strategy center, and let's go back to the strategy center, I can pull up one of my pre-built scans that I've built, because my chart list automatically updates that. So if I'm looking at, let's say, my bearish underperform list, right? What this does is it basically allows me to select a bearish strategy and know that I'm able to, so for example, this custom scan that I built spits out 8 different symbols today. Out of those 8 different symbols, they all meet the criteria that I'm looking for a bearish trade, but Roper Technologies has the cheapest put options to purchase. So if I think of all of these stocks as relatively equal from a scanning perspective, what I'm trying to do is identify which ones have the cheapest options to purchase. And maybe you might say to yourself, Roper Technologies is a $500 stock, a little bit too expensive for me. Let me trade the next one, the $37 stock. These two are very similar in nature. So basically what I'm doing is I'm picking the best possible one that suits me. So I'm going to avoid that $500 stock, but I'm going to look at this $35 stock. This stock, it's got a lot of things going for it. It's got a bit of a head and shoulders pattern. You've got a bit of a neckline here that's been broken, and we could maybe target here to this $32 level here to the downside. That's the downside here, right? So that's how you can think about this, and you can use this to basically use this strategy center to, okay, maybe let's look at some bear put spreads on this particular stock, and let's look at which one looks cheapest. Medtronic now has the best bear put spread that only costs 28% of the vertical width. So, for every $2,300 that I'm risking, I can make $5,940. That's really why this one gives me the higher options play score versus this one, where I'm risking a little bit more to make a little bit less, or what I could potentially make on that particular trade. So I basically get everything that I need to know on this particular line, and I can always expand it and say, if I want to learn more about this particular strategy, I can look at it. I can see exactly which contract I'm buying, which contract I'm selling, what the bid-ask spreads for each one of the legs are. As you can see, there's plenty of open interest here. There's 1,900 contracts in the first leg, 1,700 contracts in the second leg. So all of the information that I would typically go to an options chain I have, and I have all of the additional information that I normally would not get from an options chain, such as, are there earnings coming up, right? That's an important thing for a lot of options traders. What's my risk to reward ratio? How much am I risking to potentially make? What's the IV rank? What's my break-even price? What the days to expiration is, the liquidity, and also just a plain English explanation if you're brand new to this particular strategy. The bid-ask spreads, how many contracts I have to purchase, the deltas, everything that you can think of as an options trader, we have at your fingertips on each one of these strategies, so that if you wanted to place this trade, you have every piece of information that you need here to enter this trade into your platform for execution. And this is designed to make this as easy as possible for you. So I encourage you to, if you haven't done this, take a look at the advanced scan workbench. Play around with the predefined scans first or the sample scan libraries, because this is a really good starting point if you've never done this before to start building your own scans, start building your custom scans. And this is what I do a lot of my work on, is really kind of looking at these types of opportunities. You can click on edit and you can see how these scans are built. You can use the scan components to kind of add components or customizations to it that you need. And every single time you create a new scan, I recommend that you schedule that scan and have it saved to an existing chart list that you have. Replace the existing chart list so that every single time you look at a chart list, it always has the most updated scans that are already pre-populated for you. And that's one of the most popular ways that I think, or one of the most powerful ways that I think you should be using StockCharts.com's tools. You can have these emailed to you every single day. So even if you're on the road, you can just pull up on your phone and say, okay, this scan spat out 20 stocks today. Let me see what those 20 stocks looks like. You can look at it on your phone, and then you can go to the strategy center and know that out of those 20 stocks, you are trading the best possible opportunity from an options trading perspective. Okay, so all of this costs just $40 a month. And you have integrations into both ACP and SharpCharts, and I'll show you that to you in a second. What you get is seamless integration with StockCharts.com, with our trade ideas and with your chart list. And like I said, once we've opened up to this chart list, things get a lot more interesting for a lot of traders. You get personalized option strategies that are the top ranking strategies at your fingertips. You're going to save a ton of time, and you're going to trade with a lot more confidence that you're trading trading with full confidence that you have the best possible opportunities. And what I want to show you today is how you can cover your monthly costs in just a single trade, right? Especially with the new chart list. So for example, if you go to your charts and tools and you go to your strategy center, what I always encourage traders to do is create a chart list with the securities that you hold in your portfolio. So it doesn't matter what your portfolio looks like. And let me just pull up a list of stocks just for, let me look at my undervalued stocks, right? I always encourage investors to have a list of securities that have your portfolios. So let's say this is a list of my portfolio. Now, this has 50 stocks in it. Chances are your portfolio has a lot fewer stocks. But whenever you have a list of stocks that you're holding in your portfolio, you should use the cover call tool within the strategy center. So let's say this is a list of stocks that I own in my portfolio, a fictitious portfolio. When you pull up the cover call and click on update, what you're going to find is where you can generate the most premium in your trading account. And you can even sort it based on where, the lowest possible premium, right? So even in some of the lowest possible premium trades, like Kraft Heinz, General Mills, some of the really kind of low priced, low volatility stocks, you can still generate $20, $25 worth of income per 100 shares. But as you can see, there are lots and lots of securities that you're generating well over $100, $200, $300 worth of premium for every 100 shares that you own. And there are plenty of stocks that are under $100 that you're generating upwards of $100 worth of premium. So XYZ, this is a good example of a stock that I currently love, which is Block. And this is a severely undervalued stock, took a big haircut here in the recent sell-off here, and I think is a great buying opportunity. It's a $59 stock. Let's take a look at this stock real quick. So let's say you own 100 shares of this particular stock. First of all, I think there's a substantial amount of upside in this particular stock. But if let's say you were to sell a cover call, this is telling you to look at the June 6th $70 call options. So let's look at XYZ here. We're trading at 59.14. If the stock was to rally from 59.14 to $70, that'd be about an 8% rally in 45 days. That would generate $100 worth of income And that's a strategy that doesn't take any additional risk in your overall portfolio. A cover call is the only option strategy that is considered riskless, meaning you're not taking on any additional risk when you sell a cover call. The only thing you're doing is you're giving away potential upside in exchange for income today. And that allows you to potentially pay for this service many months over by selling just a single cover call. Now, I saw a couple of comments here saying, $40 sounds like a lot. Well, I want to show you is how this tool can pay for itself on the first trade. And you should be able to pull up, create a chart list with the stocks that you own in your portfolio. And first of all, I think you should sort it based on the annualized return so that you can see which stock gives you the highest yield. And as you can see, Block, on a $70 stock generates $100 worth of income for every 100 shares that you own in about 38 days. So in 38 days, you're going to generate 1.72% of the stock's value. Think about that. The average S&P 500 stock pays about under 2%. So this is paying you, virtually the same amount as what you would earn on an average S&P 500 stock in 1 year. You're going to earn that in 38 days, which annualizes out to about 17% yield on your asset that you own, right? So you own Block. Now you can add another 17% of yield on top of that if you were to sell cover calls throughout the year. So in a single month, slightly over a month, you can generate 1.72% of the stock's value in income, and that's going to pay for 2.5 months of your service here at StockCharts.com for your OptionsPlay add-on. Hopefully, you're going to be able to do a lot more in that 2.5 months time, but even if that's the only trade that you make in the first month, you've paid for the first 2.5 months of your service by selling a single cover call. And like I said, this is a strategy where you're not adding additional risk. I'm not saying here you can pay for $40, but you're risking $1,000 in the back end of it. You're not risking a single extra dollar by selling this cover call, and now you've collected $100 worth of income to pay for 2.5 months of your service. Let's look at another one, Pinterest. It's a $34 stock, half the price of Block, but you're going to generate $42 worth of income for every 100 shares that you own for Pinterest. Another very interesting stock, one of the most undervalued stocks at the moment based on my particular way of trading. But I'm not here to tell you how I trade. I'm just saying that if you own Pinterest, $34 stock for every 100 shares, you're earning $42 worth of income. That's 1.63% of the stock's value that you're going to earn in 38 days. Annualize that out, that's about 16% additional yield selling cover calls on Pinterest. And as you can see, this is how much yield you can generate on all of these stocks, right? You can even have a list of you can have a chart list of S&P 500 stocks and see which of those S&P 500 stocks generates the most yield. And that's might be where you want to start. So Pinterest is a good example of one where it's a $34 stock. If you had 100 shares of that, it's about $3,400. I'm sorry, it's a $26 stock. So to 100 shares of that stock is only about $2,600. With that, you can earn enough income on one cover call to pay for 1 month worth of this particular service. That's how valuable this tool is. And it makes it so easy so that within 2 seconds, you can identify where you can generate enough yield to pay for at least 1 month of this service, if not easily 2 to 3 months of this service on your first cover call. And I want to make sure that not only do you see how powerful this is, but you understand how you can use this tool to pay for itself using the services that we have, using something as simple as a cover call where you're not adding additional risk. And then once you've paid for it, you can then explore other strategies to actually try to make some return on your capital using some of the tools that I showed you before in terms of identifying these stocks here in terms of finding trading opportunities or in one of your own pre-built scans. And I just want to also say, $40 a month, think about your own time, right? How much is $40 worth of your own time? Because it only takes the amount of time to look through maybe 10 options chains to pay for $40 of your own time. you are going to save a ton of time with this particular tool, and more importantly, you're going to know that you're trading the best possible opportunity, because there's just no way in hell you're going to be able to look through a list of, I have 41 stocks here. You're just not going to be able to look through 41 different options chains. So even if you end up finding a couple of these ones that are near the top, you don't know for a fact that you found the best possible opportunity. This is designed to help make it so much easier for you. I see a question about, a couple of questions about, can you use a poor man's cover call? Yeah, absolutely. If you just have a list of stocks that you own deep in the money calls on, you can run the same cover call algorithm through, stocks that you own deep in the money calls. So, it doesn't matter whether you own the underlying or you own a call option, you can sell a cover call against, both the underlying and a long call, and it works the same way. And you collect the same amount of premium, right? And you could arguably buy a lot more contracts of a poor man's cover call than you can of 100 shares of the stock. So for example, if we were looking at block before, you might be able to afford 2 or 3 contracts of an in the money call option rather than buying 100 shares of the stock, which means that you can now generate, instead of $40, you can generate $120 worth of income. So yes, you can do a lot of different things here, including a poor man's cover call. Can you show how to check the best option for a single stock? Great question. So what I want to go back to then now is the integration that we have with both SharpCharts and ACP. So you can actually do this in both SharpCharts and ACP. So for example, if you look at SharpCharts, and let's say you're focused on, let's say, XYZ, right? You just know that that's a stock that you want to trade. Well, you can use our Strategy Explorer, which you can find under options. You can find the OptionsPlay tool under the options section here, under your SharpCharts, and now you can explore multiple strategies at the same time. So you can explore a long stock, long call, long vertical spread side by side, and actually, and let's look at bullish strategies here for block. And you can explore these strategies side by side. So this actually helps you pick various strategies and be able to choose different expiration dates and strike prices and know that you're trading the best possible opportunity. This is what we call the Strategy Explorer. And what this allows you to do is, if you honed in on a single stock and you want to figure out what is the right strategy to trade, right? What this does is it gives you a starting point, and it compares the 3 most popular strategies for any of these, whether you're looking for bullish, bearish, or even for those of you that are a little bit more advanced and you like to trade strategies when there's high implied volatility. It basically structures the 3 most popular strategies for that specific outlook. It already pre-selects the strategy, the expiration date, and the strike price for you, so that you don't have to pick anything else, right? You just have to pick an outlook, and it gives you that starting point. And you can actually compare the strategies side by side. So if you're looking at, potentially being bullish on block, it'll compare buying 100 shares of the stock, which is going to cost you about $5,900, versus buying a call option, which will cost you $630, versus buying a call spread, which will cost you $525. And it gives you a P&L simulator so that you can say, what happens if block reaches, let's say, $70, right? How much can I potentially make on this specific strategy? So let's compare these 3 strategies side by side. If I bought the stock, I'm looking at about an 18% return if I went up to $70. If I bought the call option, I'm looking at a 98% return. If I'm looking at the vertical spread here, I'm looking at 138% return on my capital, right? So this is why the strategy on the right-hand side has the highest OptionsPlay score, because not only does it have the highest return if I'm correct on my trade, but what happens if I'm wrong? What happens if block reverses back down to, let's say, $50, right? It's important that you actually look at, arguably it's more important that you look at the downside first, understand, can I deal with this loss if it did go in the opposite direction? That's the first thing you should answer before you look at how much money you can make. So for example, if you had bought 100 shares of the stock, you would lose $920 if you had bought this stock. If you had bought the call option, you lose $630. If you bought the vertical spread, you would lose $525. So not only do you lose the least amount of capital on the strategy on the right-hand side, but you also have the highest return if you are correct, which is why, like I said, the strategy on the right has the highest OptionsPlay score. But there's a lot that you have to do to figure all that stuff out. So that's why the Strategy Explorer is here to help give you that starting point. You just have to pick a stock, pick a direction, and we will help you with the option strategy optimization, right? Picking a strategy, picking an expiration date, picking a strike price, giving you the tools that you need to evaluate those strategies and making sure you understand those strategies. You have everything from a risk and investment calculator. So you can say, okay, I'm willing to risk $2,500. How many contracts can I trade? So what it does, it'll basically reprice everything to show you how many shares you can buy, how many contracts you can buy, and compare these three strategies side by side. That is a plain English explanation, so that if you've never heard of this strategy on the right-hand side, you can better understand the strategy. And this is all available to you here within the Strategy Explorer. And you can access the Strategy Explorer through both SharpCharts and ACP as well. So regardless of which one of those two charting packages you prefer, you have equal access to both of them through StockCharts.com. So with that, that covers what I wanted to share with you. I hope that this is helpful in giving you a clear understanding as to what tools StockCharts.com has built in this partnership, this fantastic partnership that we have had. It's about 6 months, 7 months old, but we really have already gotten a lot of great feedback from clients. And that's part of why we built the ChartList integration, because so many of you use ChartList at the center of your stock charts experience. I myself, I'm a heavy user of stock charts, so I advocated pretty hard for integrating ChartList with the strategy center, because that's how I trade, right? I'm basically building tools that helps me trade, and you guys all have access to these tools as well. Every single day, one of the first thing I do is I go to the strategy center, I look through my chart list, I look through specific chart lists that I'm looking at, and what I'll do is I'll pull up the chart list, because the chart list has the scans that I'm really interested in, right? So I'll run my 2-month outperform scan. Those are the stocks that I really like kind of looking at as a potential breakout candidate. But sometimes there could be 20 stocks in that list, and I'm not going to look through 20 stocks through the options chain. I rely on the strategy center to help me hone in on which stocks that I should buy options on, and know for a fact that I've found the best possible opportunity. And then what that allows me to do is make sure that I know that I'm leaving no stone unturned, and I can trade that. And then more importantly, what I do on a weekly basis is I use this tool to generate income, right? So whether I'm selling cover calls on stocks that I own, or I'm selling puts on stocks that I would like to own, through both of that process, that's really how I generate far more income than any other strategy. And I know that I'm always maximizing my income, because when I'm looking at selling cover calls, I know that Tesla will generate 15% yield versus my GoDaddy will only generate 9% yield. So I basically always focus on the ones at the top of the list, and I work my way down, right? I basically work my way down until maybe I get to a point where I feel like it's not enough income to justify. Or if, let's say today I only have 10 minutes and I can only execute 3 trades, I'll go from the top and go down, right? So that I know that I'm trading the ones that maximizes my yield. So we all have limited time, and this is designed to make sure that within that limited time, you are trading the best possible opportunity. And through the cover call tool, I'm trying to make sure that you can pay for your first month, if not your first 2 to 3 months worth of services, from selling your first cover call. And that's a strategy that does not add additional risk to your portfolio. Okay. So with that, what I'll do is I'll open this up for Q&A. There is both a chat window and a Q&A window at the bottom of your screen. If you don't mind, please type your questions into the Q&A window, and I will try to answer as many questions as I have time for here today. Jan is saying rules to decide time frame. Great question. So every single one of these strategies has already pre-built our optimal time frame. So let's say you select long calls. It's all automatically going to populate 30 days. You select bull call spread. It's all automatically going to change to 60 days. You use a bear put spread. It'll always change to 45 days. Not only does it automatically select a time frame for you, but it'll also automatically select a risk profile for you. And that's based on years and years of backtesting for every single one of these strategies, where we have already determined very clearly, it's very black and white. There's no gray area from our perspective as to what is the optimal days to expiration and what is the optimal strike selection. So we will always start you off on the most optimal setting, no matter what strategy you choose. You're always free to change that based on market conditions. There are reasons to change that, but we will always start you with the most optimal time frame and the most optimal strike selection for any strategy you choose. That's another thing that's really powerful about this platform. So I'm glad you asked that question, Jan, and I hope that helps everyone here that's looking at this. Is the options play score a probability of profitable trade? No, the probability of profit is already here on your screen. So let's say you look at full put spread. So we already have the probability of profit here. So for example, you're looking at this, there's a 54% probability of profit, right? That's different than the options play score. The options play score is looking at the risk to reward and looking at the probability, because risk to reward and probability of profit are on opposite ends of the spectrum. So something with high risk to reward will always have low probability of profit, and vice versa. Something with high probability of profit will always have a low risk to reward. So how do you find the balance between the two? That's really why we created the options play score, is to show you how well balanced these two things are and what the expected expected value of a particular option is based on, you know, if you were to trade it, let's say 1,000 times, what is the expected profit over those 1,000 trades? Okay, those are multiple questions on the options play score. Hopefully I answer that. How do you correlate your stock to option selection today with the stock short and mid trend? I'm not sure I understand your question, because you know your stock selection, or rather your screen, you know, you have to build your screen based on kind of a time frame that you have in mind, right? So whether you're using kind of and let's say you're using CCI, right? If you use a 14 period CCI, you're looking at 2 weeks or roughly 3 weeks worth of data. You use a 20 period CCI, you're looking at 4 weeks worth of data. You use a 50 period CCI, you're looking at a longer time frame. So it's just, you know, your scans kind of determine what your outlook is, or you know what general time frame you're looking at that outlook is, and you kind of want to match your option strategy to the outlook of your scan, right? So if you're looking at a scan where you are looking at 1 month, then you might want to look at an option that expires in a month or a month and a half, somewhere at a time frame that matches kind of your scan, right? But if let's say you're looking at a scan that you're looking at just like, you know, a scan that might only give you a move over the next couple of days, then you want to adjust your strategy center to find, you know, strategies that meet kind of your time frame, right? So if you're looking at, let's say, a 3 period moving average, then you probably want to use 7-day options or 14-day options, because your time horizon is much shorter. So hopefully that answered your question. At the moment, there's only a monthly pricing. There's no annual pricing on this tool. So that's just the limitation that we currently have on StockCharts. Yes, there's a separate customer service for StockCharts users of OptionsPlay. Can I run it for a week setup instead of 30 days and 60 days? Yes, absolutely. So when you're choosing your time frame, you can select as little as 7 days out. The only reason we're going to 7 days and not any shorter is because equity options, you know, right now, there are no dailies on equity options. There are only weeklies on equity options, which is why the shortest time frame we use is 7 days. You know, if you use 0 days to expiration, there's only 3 symbols that you can trade 0 days to expirations on. So you're not going to find any strategies for the vast majority of stocks that you'll have in here. So that's why we are using 7 days. What is the exit strategy? Great question, Mohammed. So when you subscribe to OptionsPlay, we already have built a lot of education into your experience. So let me just show you here. If you go to the, once you're subscribed, if you go to the, we have a premium blog that is just for OptionsPlay. So for example, as you see members only, there's an OptionsPlay with Tony Zhang blog. And in there, we have a lot of our pre-built strategies that we've already built, and a lot of the education that we've built as well. So for example, I've recently did one on, I'm trying to find one of my webinars. Actually, let me see if it's on the first page. Yeah, so you see all of these where these have videos, right? So I cover a lot of the exit strategies for these strategies during these videos. So this masterclass that I did in 2025, right? This one actually covers all 9 strategies that we use in the strategy center. What are the entry rules and what are the exit rules? So we cover all of that as part of your membership here at OptionsPlay. If I were to create a stock scan, what are the minimum open interest needed for that stock options to be included in the options playlist? So we don't use open interest as a way to gauge liquidity. Open interest is not a very good gauge for liquidity, because if something just got, like for example, if an SPY option just got listed yesterday, right? It's going to have very little open interest because it just got listed yesterday. But is an SPY option not liquid as a result of that? Not at all. It is just as liquid as something with 10,000 contracts of open interest. So what's a far better gauge of liquidity is not open interest and volume, but spreads. If you look at SPY options, they're usually a penny wide, a couple of pennies wide. That reflects the deep liquidity that is in SPY options. If you look at something like eBay, they're much wider because they're not particularly widely traded. So the size of the spread is a much better gauge for liquidity than open interest and volume. So we always use the spread. We do factor into open interest in certain aspects, but not in the ways that you're probably thinking. So the bid-ask spread is the most important indicator that we use to gauge whether something's liquid or not. So the cost of OptionsPlay is $40 a month. You can click on this. You can point your phone to that QR code on your screen to subscribe to the add-on. It's just $40 a month, and it does come with the ACP plugin, so you can view OptionsPlay in ACP and StockCharts and SharpCharts. It is included in that $40 subscription. Request for future. IBD has a pre-earnings option strategy where you can buy an option just prior to earnings announcement, ideally less than 5% of the stock price. So one of the things that we are going to be able to include in this, let me just show this to you really quick. This was our current week's earnings navigator. So out of all the stocks that are reporting earnings this week, these were the 7 that we identified as the best for, or these 8 were the ones that we identified as best for options traders. We will be including that as part of your OptionsPlay subscription here at StockCharts.com, so that you can get our top picks for earnings moves for the next week. We publish these on Fridays for the following week's earnings. So this came out last Friday for this week. We have Microsoft that's reporting, Caterpillar, Meta, Microsoft, Qualcomm that's reporting tomorrow, that we have a bullish view on. And then on Thursday, Apple, Airbnb, and EOG are ones that we also have a bullish view on going into earnings. So, we basically take the thousands of stocks that are reporting in a given week and condense it down to just the ones that we have the highest conviction on. And this factors into technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and relative strength. 3 things that I look for when I'm trading options myself. And for those of you that have been following me on CNBC for the last few years, you know that whenever I trade earnings, those are the 3 things that I look for. And those are the 3 things that I always talk about when I'm doing an earnings setup on CNBC. And I have built that into an AI tool that basically identifies that for me. And these are the results that you're going to be able to get as part of your subscription. This will be under the OptionsPlay blog, which is a premium blog that only subscribers to the OptionsPlay add-on at StockCharts.com have access to. This is the brand new service that we just launched last Friday. So this Friday is the first time that we will be posting it to members here at StockCharts.com. Let me see if there's any more questions here. I'm fine with the amount of time for the length of these sessions. If shorter, you might want to rush through the presentation to clearly understand. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate all the feedback. We definitely try to do our best in terms of condensing the amount of time, but not condensing the learning process, if that makes any sense. We want to make sure that the most important thing is that we articulate what we're trying to show you And secondary to that is trying to do it in the shortest amount of time possible and be cognizant of everyone's schedule. With that, I've already gone an hour and 10 minutes since we've started. I hope that this is helpful in giving you a better understanding of the powerful tools that we have built here with StockCharts.com. They have been a fantastic partner with us. We work with them every single week on looking at the feedback that you guys are giving us and incorporating that into future builds. We are continuously working on improving the service, and I hope that you guys, number one, find value in this. And for those of you that are subscribed, give us your feedback. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. And we are always continuously listening to your feedback and incorporating that into your membership here at OptionsPlay and StockCharts.com. So thank you so much, everyone, for your support. For those of you that have chosen to subscribe, I really appreciate your time and your efforts and the support that you provide to us, because it allows us to continue to do this every single day. And we are more than happy to be working on this type of stuff. It's the stuff that I love. It's the stuff that I love teaching, and I hope that you guys find value in this as well. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a great trading day.